Hey Heels, what's going on? StatKing back with another episode of Dark Powerrr. Still missing NWA Powerrr, but we've got an episode of AEW Dark. It's a short one, but it's a pretty good episode actually. The main event is more than you would expect from what they've been giving us recently with kind of squash matches against independent wrestlers. This week we've got QT Marshall versus one of his students, Lee. It's not as quick as the second match, but it does move very quickly. The pacing is good. The story here is that QT Marshall's opponent is somebody that he trains. Is one of his students, and Marshall is going to get a little busted open the hard way, I think. Does a good job protecting his student. Does a good job showcasing what his student knows, what his student is learning, what he's teaching. It's a good match in that sense. A little bit of that nice student-teacher dynamic. Obviously, this isn't a long match. It's also not a match with a lot of people that we know very well, so you can't really dig into the kind of tried-and-true teacher-student story. But having that there is kind of like a sprinkling on the top of what we are getting. And what we are getting is a quick, hard-hitting match that QT Marshall picks up the win for. It's kind of expected, but either way, it's good to see him getting a win. It's always going to help down the road when you're building up people for either QT Marshall maybe getting a chance down the road at the TNT Championship, whoever wins that. Maybe you get a one-off match where he's able to pull off a contendership, and when people are saying, "Oh well, hey, how do they actually do the rankings properly?" Well, this is going to be a win that counts towards that, and you will be able to have him stacking wins on television, on televised events, so that we're able to see what is going on with QT Marshall when he does eventually become a little bit more of a bigger name, when he does potentially have those matches that we are looking at him for. So after that, there is a Wardlow match. It's difficult to call it a match. It's basically so the opponent is a guy named Ryan Piles. I don't know anything about Ryan Piles. Wardlow comes out with MJF, and probably more of the match or more of the time is spent on Wardlow taking off his suit than it is actually in the ring, because this guy runs at Wardlow once the bell rings. Wardlow gets him up, spins around twice, and drops him. They call it an F10. I'm guessing that's supposed to be some kind of riff off of the concept of the F5. And he pins him by just standing there and putting his foot on the guy's chest and getting the quick 3 count. It's basically a one-move match. Not unlike the Kofi Kingston title match against Brock Lesnar. But in this situation, it works, right? We don't know who Ryan Piles is. We don't need to know who Ryan Piles is. What we need to know is that this guy came at Wardlow full force. Wardlow picked him up and knocked him out in that quickly. This is a kind of a far cry from the Wardlow of the steel cage match against Cody, where Cody pulled off that insane moonsault that he probably should not have done, fucking up his toe. But it's a far cry from that in the sense of, how dominant one looked versus the other. Wardlow looked great in that steel cage match, like for what they wanted to push and position Wardlow as. But if he's going to really be the muscle for MJF, he's got to get wins. He's got to look dominant. And you can do that against somebody like Ryan Piles. Either way, the less said about the match, the better, in the sense that it doesn't make sense to talk that much about what is essentially a 5-second match. Finally, though, the main event, Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford versus Tony Donati. As somebody who was watching these squash matches, going into it going, let's take these matches for what they are, for what they're going to be, and not really expect more than what I know they should be. This was actually a very good match. It's about 8 minutes long. In that sense, it feels good because you're thinking of the Wardlow squash, right before it, but it's a good match. There's some nice back and forth between the two. Sabian gives as much as he gets from his opponent, which is always good, right? You want people to have a bit of that back and forth in a wrestling match. You want, as much as you sometimes need the squashes, the short matches where somebody doesn't really get in a lot of offense, you kind of also want to make your opponent look good, right? So Sabian does that in his own way when it comes to this match against Donati, but Donati obviously is giving more. But it's a good match because you're able to see that Sabian can lead a match. Sabian has the ability to dictate the pace of a match. A lot of times he is in matches with people who are above his weight class, not in the literal sense, but in the positioning of card. And he has to rise to the occasion. And he does that. He does that well. But it's also good to see that he can bring somebody up with him when he is the person who's positioned higher. And that's something that is really nice to see whenever he is on Dark, especially now recently with these squash matches. But it's great to see that he has that ability and that they can continue to build that with him. Sabian's going to be somebody that I think they are going to build around. He is a very good heel. He's very good at what he does. Also, actually, congratulations to him, by the way. Congratulations to Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. They recently got engaged. I think it was over the weekend. I saw an Instagram post, I think, or something like that. But congratulations to the two of them. They are now engaged. It makes the feud, or mini feud, with Joey Janela that much more interesting, considering they are not just now boyfriend and girlfriend, but they are actually fiancé and they are engaged. It's always good to see life progressing forward in these interesting, trying times that we're in, right, guys? And now, I mean, it's good. It's good that he's picking up this win on Dark. That ring probably cost him some money, so it's good that he's got the main event purse and the winner's share of the main event purse. So congratulations to Kip Sabian for the engagement and for the win. Good match. That's probably the match out of the three to watch if you are going to be watching Dark in general. I know sometimes people are, it was about 20-minute long episode, and I will try to not take up nearly as much time, but in this time where sometimes people are starved for new content, hey, give it a check, that main event match was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And so guys, remember, as always, stay safe. We are, also, Happy New Year to everybody. Technically, if you think, if you're a wrestling fan, the new year begins after WrestleMania, which is incredible when you think that you are listening to me talk about a competitor show. But in a sense, it is the new year of wrestling. We follow the industry leader. That still is WWE for however long it is, and probably will be for some time. Sorry to all the AEW marks out there who think that AEW is going to destroy WWE. They may, but it's going to take some time if they are going to do that. And part of the way they will do that is through episodes of Dark, just like this one. Oh, gosh, brought it all back together. But anyway, guys, in all seriousness, Happy New Year. May this year of wrestling be better than the last year of wrestling. That's all we can really ask for. And all that we really want is that everybody is safe throughout all of it. Definitely don't want any injuries like what happened with Kenny's hand or what happened with Cody's foot when he does that moonsault. But anyway, guys, stay safe. Hope all of you are well. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.